Okay, so if you follow me on Twitter, you might have noticed a recently reoccurring theme in my tweets, that being my love of the one and only, the incomparable Jodie Whittaker. And so you might be wondering what this has to do with Wheel of Time, because if you know my YouTube channel, you know that that's 90% of my content. And basically what it is I love Wheel of Time, I love Jodie Whittaker, I want my chocolate in my peanut butter, just to use a phrase there. I want them together. I want Jodie Whittaker to be in the Wheel of Time TV show. And so I've been tweeting about it and talking about it a lot. I talked about it so much that it actually has infected other content creators. If you know the Wheel Takes podcast, they recently held something called the GRINWELL Cup on their channel, on their Twitter and their podcast and their YouTube channel, where we were voting on Wheel of Time characters. And well, I got called out during one of their live streams that they had.
Now, I want to tell Jenny here, because Jenny is the one who just will not stop fan casting Jodie Whittaker every time she wants someone to win a poll. Jenny, you got to pick one person.
I think Jenny has picked
Jenny's
Jodie Whittaker to play 9 people.
Oh, I want this person to win. Jodie Whittaker should
The power of Jodie Whittaker is undeniable.
I mean, it's not a bad strategy, but
yeah, she
I
goes,
see
okay,
Jenny.
Hear me out. It's her, but Jodie Whittaker. And then everyone's like, well, I see it now. I see.
Okay, so, yeah, I told her I need to focus and narrow, but I didn't. I kept bringing her up, and so she kept coming up during that specific live stream.
Jodie Whittaker.
Jodie Whittaker.
Jodie Whittaker.
Jodie Whittaker.
Jodie Whittaker.
Yes.
Jodie Whittaker.
This was the Jodie Whittaker.
Jenny!
Jodie Whittaker. Who could they cast that would get Gawain some votes? Not Jodie Whittaker. Not on the table here.
Jenny, relax.
Jenny, we're watching you.
And then the following week, Will Takes made the mistake or decision or whatever you want to call it of having me on their channel. And I might have brought Jodie up a couple of times.
And Jodie Whittaker. Jodie Whittaker. Jodie Whittaker. Jodie Whittaker.
Jodie Whittaker.
Jodie
Whittaker.
Jodie Whittaker can play land. Jodie Whittaker as Jodie Whittaker. Jodie Whittaker. Jodie Whittaker. Jodie Whittaker. Jodie Whittaker. Jodie Whittaker. Jodie Whittaker.
Now, as Bree said in that first broadcast, and other people have said to me as well, I need to focus my efforts. I need to narrow it down. Although why? It's not like I have the power to make it happen. But to be honest, I actually have. In my mind, there's a list of about 20 characters that I think Jodie Whittaker could play, because she's an amazing and versatile actress. And I made that list, and then that turned out to be too much for a video, so I narrowed it down to 10, and that also turned out to be too much for one video. So this is gonna be 2 videos, because I didn't want to cut it off anymore. But here's the thing. In order to talk about these characters, I am going to be spoiling things. So I'm just going to say, blanket spoiler, the entire Wheel of Time book series. Not the show, I don't know what the show is going to do. But if you have not finished the Wheel of Time book series and you do not want spoilers, I don't recommend watching this video. But if you finish the book series, or you don't care about spoilers, I guess we're good to go. So let's go.
Let's be nerdy, babe. Let's be nerdy, let's be nerdy. Let's be nerdy, babe. Let's be nerdy, babe. Let's be nerdy, babe.
So like I said, this video is going to be the first 5 in my top 10. So this is going to be 10 through 6. On my list of top 10 characters that I think Jodie Whittaker could play. So let's start with number 10. Number 10 on my list is Valan Luca. This was one that I didn't personally think of myself. It came up as an idea during a GRINWELL Cup live stream. But the moment it was said, I could see it perfectly. Like, Valan Luca is a flamboyant, over the top. He's a showman. He's confident and bold. He's theatrical. I imagine him speaking with wild, expansive hand gestures, and he walks with a really purposeful stride. In my mind, actually, what I'm picturing is Anne Lister from Gentleman Jack, just top hat and cane and coattails blowing behind her, like, perfect. Now, you may have noticed that when talking about Valan Luca, I was saying he, and that's because in the books, Valan Luca is a man. But I really don't think this is necessary at all. Like, his maleness has really very little to do with his character as it pertains to the story. Well, except for the misogynistic interactions that he has with the female characters, specifically and especially with Nynaeve. But I would imagine, given who I believe Rafe Judkins, the showrunner, to be, and what I've seen so far of how he's handled the gender dynamics in the show, I would believe that some of those misogynistic okay, I was going to say misogynistic undertones, but really they're overtones. Valan Luca just does not know how to deal with a woman saying no. But some of those, I would imagine, would be handled differently in the show compared to the books. And I can see Jodie embodying all the fun of Valan Luca. I can see her having so much fun in this role, experimenting with new and exciting ways to bring that to life. Like imagining her walking around the menagerie with a cape and a cane and a top hat. Like, that is hotness itself. The more I talk about it, the more I love it, and I want to move it higher on this list. However, okay, Jodie has just finished playing the Doctor on Doctor Who, a role which prior to her had always been played by a man, and so she's already had to deal with being the brunt of a certain type of fan who takes that sort of thing way, way too personally. And add to that Valan Luca is... Okay, well, to be honest, I don't know that Valan Luca is going to make the show. There are 14 books, 15 if you include the prequel, the cover, and I know Rafe said he's mapped it out for 8 seasons. I do not know that the circus storyline is going to make the show, although based on something that Min said in episode 7, I do think we're going to see the menagerie, but I don't know that we're going to spend enough time in the menagerie for Valan Luca to be a viable option. And so that's actually the main reason Valan Luca is number 10 on my list of possible roles for Jodie Whittaker. So let's move on to number 9. Satal-Anan. Satal-Anan has got to be one of my favorite side or secondary characters in The Wheel of Time. I want so badly to know her backstory. I have so many thoughts about what happens to her after the books end. Satal-Anan survived stilling. Or, okay, actually, no, that's not true. She survived being burnt out. Being stilled would be bad enough. You're severed, you're cut off from being able to access and channel the one power, but being burnt out, like even the phrase burnt out sounds brutal and violent to me. Her ability to channel the one power was burnt out of her. According to the Aes Sedai, this is not something that is survivable. Like, it's such a horrible fate that they don't even like to talk about it. And even the browns and the yellows, they don't study it, which I have to say, as somebody who identifies as brown Aja, this bothers me to no end, because, come on, browns, you are researchers. Your entire purpose is to gather and preserve knowledge. You shouldn't let your squeamishness get in the way. But, okay, anyway, the point is, no one even talks about the women who suffer this fate. It is assumed that they just go off on their own and die quietly and alone without any of the Aes Sedai having to see this grim example of a horrifying thing that could happen to any of them. But Satal-Anan, against all odds and without any help or guidance, she survived. She found the will to live, and she made a life for herself. Now, compared to the life of an Aes Sedai, her life, it's unassuming, but it's her life. And what amazes me about her is that she doesn't seem to avoid channelers, which is what the Aes Sedai would say someone in her position would do to avoid having to confront their loss. She's such a strong woman. She went through something horrifying and came out the other side and is actually trying to help people. She's amazing. And Jodie Whittaker. Okay, well, first of all, we know that she can do this, right? Because we've seen it. Anyone who has watched all 3 seasons of Broadchurch has seen her do this with Beth Latimer, a character who went through hell and came out the other side. Now, to be honest, I don't know that Beth Latimer and Satal-Anan have much more in common than that, but I do know that I think that Jodie could definitely show that steel that Satal is made of that got her through something that would kill most people. So with Satal-Anan being one of my favorites, why is it so low on my list? For kind of the same reason as Valan Luca. I don't know if Satal-Anan is going to make the show. A lot of her storyline actually takes place in Valan Luca's menagerie, so if I don't have confidence that his menagerie is going to feature strongly, then it's the same thing for her. She's an awesome character, but you can tell the story without her, and so she's number 9. So let's move on to number 8. Alviarin. Alviarin is a fascinating character. She is probably my favorite dark friend in the series. Like, she's definitely one of the most competent of the villains. She successfully orchestrates a coup that got our beloved swans stilled and split the tower in half. And then she basically runs the White Tower by working Elaida as a puppet, which, okay, just thinking about that, like, that's kind of chilling. A Black Aja sister effectively had control of the White Tower during the apocalypse, like, in world. That's freaking terrifying. But Alviarin, she did that shit. Because she is smart and she is all cold and logic because, okay, yes, she's Black Aja, so she serves the dark, but like all Black Aja sisters, she still has characteristics of, what would you call it? Her front-facing Aja? The Aja that she purports to be, which is the White Aja. The White Aja is cool and logic. They examine things about questions of logic and mathematics. And that's her. She is cool. She's, some might say, cold. She's all about logic. She doesn't care what people think or feel. She doesn't seem to really care about people at all. She doesn't care to know them as people. She doesn't care to be known by them. She just cares about the facts and how they pertain to whatever goals she has. So why would I want Jodie Whittaker to play her? Well, it's because Alviarin is about as opposite to Jodie Whittaker's actual personality, as far as I know it. Granted, I don't know her, but I'm just inferring from like interviews and podcasts and stuff that I've read and seen of her. Alviarin is about as opposite from her real personality as you can possibly get. Well, first of all, let's start with the basics. Alviarin is evil. Jodie Whittaker, presumably not evil. And then, as I said, Alviarin is all about cold logic. She doesn't care about people. Jodie Whittaker is so warm and kind. Everything I've ever heard about her from people who've met her, people who've worked with her, she just really cares about people and goes out of her way to get to know people, to really know them, really interact with them, to be kind to everyone around her. In interviews, she is effusive and open and full of joy and life. And so, as weird as this may sound, I would just love to see her play this role that feels like the opposite coin. Like, it's so opposite to her real personality. And of course, unlike the previous two roles that I mentioned, I think Alviarin is pretty central to the story. So I'm pretty confident that she's going to make the show. And if I were planning things out, I'd see her coming in sometime around season 3, because I imagine the coup will happen in either season 3 or 4, so I think the timing even works well. Okay, so moving on. Number 7. Tarna. Now, I actually debated for a while in my mind as to whether I wanted to see her play Tarna or Pavara. And the real answer is, of course, I want both. I want a full, like, 90s era Eddie Murphy thing going on where she plays multiple roles. But obviously, they're not going to do that. So I had to make a decision. And while I think Pavara has a bigger role, I ended up settling on Tarna for my number 7 for a very specific reason. So, okay, Tarna is one of the hunters of the Black Aja that Elaida accidentally sets to hunting and rooting at the Black Aja in the tower. Tarna is Red Aja, but she's not completely unreasonable. Red Aja, but she's not unreasonable. Whatever. She and Pavara are said to actually both be dedicated to the real purpose of the Red Aja, which is to protect the world from the very real danger that male channelers pose, or that they used to pose, before Rand and Nynaeve did their thing. Basically, what I'm saying is they are not crazy man-haters, which is how most of the Red Aja, up until, this point, have been portrayed to be in the series. But then Tarna and Pavara get sent to the Black Tower to deal with the Ashman, and because of Elaida wildly underestimating the number of male channelers that there would be, they get captured, and then Tarna gets turned. Which is, for those who don't know, through the use of the One Power, the use of the magic, your soul is forcibly turned evil, against your will. The people who are turned, it's said that they still act like themselves, but there's something off about them, something in the eyes, an emptiness or something. And this is why I chose Tarna over Pavara, because I think that would be so interesting to see an actor do. And I think Jodie can do it. Jodie was in a short film called Untitled. Like, that's actually the title of the short film. It's called Untitled. It's about 10 minutes long. She doesn't say a word in the entire thing. The whole short film is done in one shot. The camera doesn't move or cut. There's no cuts. And another actor sits and gives what is basically a monologue. And Jodie just reacts. and the emotions, the story that is told by her face, by her expressions, the way she reacts, it's amazing. I actually cried the first time I watched it. And the fact that she was able to do that, I mean, okay, it's a short film. It's only, like I said, maybe 10 minutes or whatever, but it's 10 minutes of basically just her face and her letting us know all that was going on in her character's mind without saying a single word. I think she could do this. I think she could be Tarna and then let us get to know Tarna and then still be Tarna, but something's off, something's wrong. Yeah, Jodie could do this, and I'd love to see it. And here we are at number 6. And for 6, we have Bayle Domon, the pirate smuggler himself. Bayle Domon is a fan favorite character, and for good reason. He is bloody awesome. He has traveled the world over, and he just loves to see and experience new things. He's also he's a damn good guy from the get-go. He's just good. Rand and Matt pay him to let them on his ship, but when they leave, he pays them back because he thinks that they earned their keep. He did not need to do that. When Nynaeve asks for help in the Great Hunt, he stays in the harbor way past what anybody reasonable would have done just because he promised he would. And when he sees them again, he offers them help without hesitation because he wasn't able to help them that first time, and it's been weighing on him. And that's not even to mention the fact that he sets up a soup kitchen to help the poor, when again, he doesn't need to do that. He's a good-hearted smuggler. And I love his relationship with Egianen. There are very few romances in the Wheel of Time that I root for, if I'm honest. And if you watch my channel, you probably already know this, but I would just say that writing romance was not one of Robert Jordan's strong suits. But Bayle Domon and Egianen, yes, please. That's a good couple, and I want them to literally sail off into the sunset and be happy together. Or, okay, no, actually I don't want that, because I actually have a post-book headcanon for what happens after the books, and Bayle Domon is a massive part of that. Oh, and let's not forget this! His accent! Bayle Domon is an Ilianer, and oh, by my aged grandmother, he do be talking like a pirate. And so, okay, I don't maybe have as involved or detailed an argument for why I want Jodie to be Bayle Domon as I do for the others, because my main reason is just, come on! Bayle is awesome! Don't you want to see Jodie Whittaker, the pirate smuggler, speaking in an Ilianer accent and just being freaking awesome all over the damn place? Because I know I do. I want to see her wearing piratey clothes. I want to see her on a ship. I want to hear her say, my aged grandmother. I want to hear her say, I do be doing whatever the hell she do be doing. I want it. I want it. I want it. I want it so much. And let's not pretend that it wouldn't be hot. Because, yeah, it would be undeniably hot. And if they keep the Egianen romance, we would get the lesbian pirate story that we all deserve, right? But even putting aside the hotness factor, it would just be awesome. She would be awesome in it. I want it. I want it so bad. So, why then is this number 6 and not number 1? For the same reason as Valan and Luca, I don't know that Bayle is going to make the show. They didn't include him in season 1, even though he was a part of book 1. I imagine stuff with a pirate ship, or just a ship. He's not actually a pirate. They don't really talk about pirates in the book, although he is a smuggler, so he's kind of a pirate, but whatever. I imagine ship stuff is really expensive. And Bayle Domon is, like, he's a recurring character. He disappears for books at a time, and then he shows up again and again. And you can do that in a book, but in a show where you are dealing with actors with lives and schedules and, like, other jobs, I don't know that they're going to keep Bayle Domon intact. Does that make any sense? I can see them having different characters come in and out of the story and fulfill the role that he does. Bayle Domon might make an appearance or two, but I don't know. Rafe has said that he's going to be killing off more characters in the show than in the books, and just for the reason that I just said. In the books, you can introduce a character in book 1, and then have them show up again in book 6, and it's fine. It's fine for written characters to disappear for books and books and then come back, because fictional people don't have lives and commitments, but actors do. So, I'm not saying that I think Bayle Domon is going to die. I can just see Bayle Domon, male or female, making an appearance, but not being the regular reoccurring role he is in the books. And so that's why this role is number 6 and not number 1. So that is the first 5, like that is 10 through 6 on my list of roles that Jodie Whittaker could play. I do have another video coming up with my top 5, so, you can wait for that. It's already, I already have the list, so whatever. But I am curious to know what roles that are not already cast that you think that Jodie Whittaker could play. Also other actors. Obviously, this is about my love and obsession with Jodie Whittaker, but I am not the only person. Like, if you have an actor that you really, really want to see in the Wheel of Time, who are they? Who do you think they could play? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like my content and you want to support me, please consider checking out my Patreon. My patrons, thank you so, so much. I don't know, I say the same thing all the time, but it's just true every single time. Thank you. It means a lot that you want to support me. It really does help not only keep me motivated, but keep me able to do this. So I really, really appreciate it. And with that, I am going to end this here. So please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.